Welcome back. Certainly there will be lots of variables in the SAT, but one of the things that remains constant is strategies. The content clearly is critical. So too, however, are the strategies. And strategies are something in the math arena, the verbal arena, and even the writing arena that are going to remain constant. And if you have a handle on the strategies for this test, it will certainly give the student more confidence in each of these particular areas. So one of the things that I believe are very important to incorporate into this introductory video are strategies in these arenas. And so we'll begin with math. Math strategies. Now some of these things you may be familiar with, some you may not, but repetition is the key to good teaching. Repetition is the key to good teaching and learning. So let's start. Number one, math strategies, your approach. We'll start with the approach. And you should be able to follow along on the website. I encourage you either to print out these strategies or to look them over as you're watching this video series. Your approach. Read through the whole question carefully. And that might seem elementary, but I can't tell you how important that is. I'm a physics teacher. I've been teaching physics for 22 years. I've seen over the course of years students approach a particular problem and unfortunately misread or have a misconception about what the question is asking, do all the math correctly, but get the answer wrong simply because they misinterpreted the question. There's going to be a certain amount of anxiety on the SAT, and the time pressure tends to make you anxious, etc. And so one of the things that may happen is you may misread simply because you're anxious. Be careful. Even taking that extra 5 seconds to make sure exactly what they're asking is really important. So read through the whole question carefully. Secondly, in the approach is decide whether to answer the question now or later. Why? What's the biggest enemy on the test? For most people, it's time. The biggest enemy on the test is time. We have this time pressure. And so decide whether to answer the question now or later, because if there are 25 questions on a particular math section, it's not as if number 25 is any more valuable or is worth any more than question number 1. They're all worth the same. If you get the question correct, you get 1 point. So decide whether to answer it now or later, because you want to get through all of the questions in a particular section. And time is a big enemy, so don't take too much time on any particular question. Pacing is absolutely critical. Learning how to pace yourself in each of these seconds. And thirdly, under approach, look for the fastest approach. That would be common sense. Many times on physics problems as well as SAT problems, there may be 2, 3, even 4 ways to do a particular problem. And when you initially read a problem, perhaps you're thinking, well, this is the way to do it. Well, if you stop and think, sometimes even 5 seconds, there may be a much quicker way. And in fact, in many SAT problems, there are what I call back doors. There may be a back door to this particular problem. What does that mean? An easy way to get to the core of the problem that is not only faster, but typically is simpler. Secondly, PEMDAS. The order of operations with which most of you undoubtedly are familiar is certainly absolutely important. The order of operations, what does PEMDAS stand for? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. The order in which those mathematical operations is done, of course, is very important to the outcome of the answer. Third, I call ballparking, which is simply another way of saying estimating. What do I mean by that? It's important to step back from the problem and see the big picture. Frequently, there are a couple of answers that make no sense at all and can be eliminated completely. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say you want to buy the newest pair of Nikes and they normally cost $100. And let's say this particular problem says the shoes that are usually $100 are on a 20% sale. What's the cost of the shoes? Fairly simple problem. These might be your answer choices. A, $20. B, $80. C, $100. D, $120. E, $150. Now you might be saying, wow, I hope all of the questions on the SAT math section are that easy. Unfortunately, they won't be. And of course, this is a simple problem, but I want to illustrate the point. The point here is this. if the shoes normally cost $100 and they're on a 20% sale, you don't have to be a female to know that sale means less than. Therefore, what three answers make no sense at all? The three that make no sense at all, of course, are C, D, and E, and can immediately be eliminated. The answer, of course, is if the shoes are 20% less, the answer, of course, is $80. The answer is B. But what's my point? My point is, some students, in fact, hate percents, don't do well at percents, will tell themselves, oh, it's a percent problem, and perhaps read this question and say, oh, I can't do percents, I better skip it and move on. Just a little thought, a little estimating, a little ballparking, a little contextual reading will sometimes give you a big jump on what the answer might possibly be. And if you're guessing from just two choices, then my definition of guessing would say that that's not guessing at all. So we'll get to that. Number 4. POE, process of elimination. And of course, we just illustrated that. Even if one answer can be eliminated as wrong, your chances of guessing the correct answer are statistically improved. Often 2 or more can be eliminated, and therefore some people would call this aggressive guessing. If you could eliminate 2 or 3, I would suggest if you can eliminate 3, it's not really guessing at all. And at that point, if you are making a choice between the 2 remaining answers because you absolutely know that 3 answers are incorrect, go right ahead and make a choice. The percentages would be in your favor if you do that over the course of the entire test. Okay? But I do not encourage guessing. My definition of a guess is a blind stab in the dark. If you have no idea what an answer choice is, and if you are selecting an answer from a list of 5 answers, the chance, obviously, of you getting the correct answer is 1 in 5 or 20%, and the people that make up the test are very, very good at offering you enticing trap answers. So be careful of that. Number 5, very importantly, degree of difficulty.